Richard and I will take you on the home stretch. So we're getting ready to rumble the issues. I see Mickela is here with me. Richard is here with me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Darimak. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I hope that you are okay too.
Yes, let me get my video.
Yes.
Right.
Nice. So Richard is here with us also. Good afternoon, Richard.
Hey, hello, Daddy Mac. Hello, producer. How are you?
I'm good.
Hello.
Could you take your volume up a little bit? Or is that it?
Yes. No, just now.
Yeah.
That's it now. That's
All
it.
right. Good. Good. Great.
You
Great.
hear me?
Yes. Good.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Mix, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just was catching the last part of the Prime Minister's press conference. It was, what did you think about it?
Well,
Better than the last one.
well, while I think he was okay, and some people may say it was good, some may be indifferent, some may say it was horrible. I could tell you, none of it came close to how wonderful you look. Oh my dear me.
Oh, hey, Richard, good, Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
Yes. You look sharper than ever. Not so, Daddy Mac.
Thank you.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Oh, so biased, so biased, so biased.
Yeah.
How
But
things
in
stand.
general, in relation to his press conference, I didn't hear all of it either.
Mhm.
I'm going to wait till the media houses edit it, and they will play the important parts tonight, and I
Mhm.
will pick out those parts only. It's difficult. I've told Daddy Mac a long time. For me, watching the news now, it's a very short process. I wait till it is finished, and then I pull it back where I have control, and I start fast forwarding to the parts I want. And in 5 minutes, I'm through. In five
And you're
minutes, I'm
finishing
through.
news quick. Yes, correct,
That's it.
correct,
That's
correct.
it. I don't take it live anymore. So I will get a lot of it later. But what I heard so far, it seems as though there's an emphasis on improving transportation in and around the region. A brief explanation for why he didn't return home. He had a cabinet in place and so on. That could deal with the situation. He's also reaching out to people to say, hey, um, you know, it, it's not the best way to go about trying to get your message out by inconveniencing other people and so on. Nice words, but I'm not encouraging those people to do it either. But it's until you are in that situation, and it's always easy. I mean, if you are in their position where you're saying three persons were shot dead, and their reaction to balance the scale is only to inconvenience some other people, then that's not too much of a price for others to
Mhm.
pay. I mean, once you're not robbing other people or not injuring other people loosely, but if the price to be paid is to inconvenience others to bring the message to their attention, I don't think that is too much of a price to pay at all. So on that score, I don't think that message was good enough for me. I think more needs to be done in terms of training police. But it's more than that. It's not just training police. I think the prime minister really has to learn to lead. I think he hasn't done that well. The people in those communities are people too. And you have to be able to connect with those people and give them the type of representation that they deserve. They feel unrepresented, they feel left out the whole loop of activities and the economic trusts of the society. And then when something like this happens and you say what the prime minister has expressed, it is as though you are confirming to them they're outside the loop. And when these things happen to you who outside the loop, be careful. Try not to inconvenience those who are
Yeah,
within.
I don't think
You
it was
know,
a good choice of words. Yeah, yeah.
it was that. But how you reacted?
I mean, I
Politically,
I only
Maki,
heard, I only heard the sort of the end part. I think he is not understanding why this happened and to minimize by using certain words. I know people were inconvenienced, but you're talking to people who already, in my mind, feel marginalized within society. Um, Also, the purpose of protests is to disrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Whether you have environmentalists and all over the world, the purpose is to disrupt your time for an hour, a couple hours or so to bring the message forward. I want to hear more about the investigations that's going to take place into what happened. Now, I was doing some research myself this evening, and I was thinking, we've been seeing a almost steady increase in the amount of quote unquote police killings. I mean, from 2020, there was 55, and we keep on seeing it. And my question is, have the police lost control of the situation and themselves now feel under siege, and this is how they are reacting? Of course, innocent until proven guilty, and we don't have an investigation into whether this was correct. What reasonable force was it? Because we don't know. Were they shot at first? Were they defending themselves? Whether it was one gun or three guns in the car, one gun can kill more than one person. So nothing ever comes out of what really happened, and I feel the protesters feel like that as well, that nothing's going to come out of it. They have their side, which could be correct or incorrect. The police have their side. But we don't seem to have any investigative tool to find out what happens, and then any repercussions for what happened, for example. So we would have seen, Rich, that the young guy, one of the young boys who were in the car, he was 15. I think he got shot in his leg or his arm. He was released from hospital today. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of the people, I'm not hearing anything. I'm hearing more about the protests and who was arrested and who was released, but of what really happened. Surely some investigation has to take place. So if you are saying there are extrajudicial killings happening, and they protested because they want an investigation, are we going to get one? And are people going to be satisfied? And those same people, the community, satisfied with what the result is going to be? I don't know. This is why I feel like we're living in a war zone. None of us trust anything or anybody or any of the institutions. And I'm not saying, my mom was going into Port of Spain. So, she was there, and you get worried because you don't know what's happening. But what comes out of it afterwards, Rich? That's what I want to know. Is there going to be any kind of transparent investigation? And to me, this coming on the heels of recently, of what we realize is now a mistake of the killing of the policeman, whilst running down a guy who was not armed, and our police commissioner being advised incorrectly or not given the correct information, as the police complaints authority should, that distrust again is there. So what's going to change? And how are we going to continuously do things the same way that we're doing it? Or is that the new way things are going to be done? I don't know, because in Trinidad and Tobago, once something started, just one chopping, now everybody's chopping. One shooting, now everybody's shooting. I mean, we are in trouble. And it can happen again, and it can happen again. And what got me, Rich, was it was such a highly organized protest.
Yeah, and I think they were right.
They were really organized, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you captured it accurately, Mickela. The purpose of a protest is to inconvenience people. That's how you get your message across. If you were to protest 3 o'clock in the morning to finish 4
when
o'clock,
everybody's sleeping,
you protest 3 a.m. and then you clean the road by 4 a.m. and then you say a protest. Who would have heard? No one would know anything, because those who went to sleep before 3 and got up to leave home by 6:30, they were none the wiser about what transpired. And if someone tell them that happened, they wouldn't believe. You're going to have disbelief, and a lot of that will play out. So you have to protest, as you said, at the time when you're going to inconvenience people, at the time you're going to, it's through the inconveniencing of people, the message will be communicated to them, so that they have to wonder what is happening, why is it happening, what causing this. Those are the things that happen. And then someone will tell them somewhere who's more informed, they're doing this because of X, Y, and right away people start to become informed and they could relate it. Some could appreciate why they're doing what they're doing. You see people turning back their vehicles to get out, to head west on the eastbound lane. They didn't try to fight, they tried to get out of there because they know what the people were doing. To some extent, they may feel justified in doing that. Not that they are right, but there are people, when they discover why they were doing what they were doing, they understood and could have related, but they wanted to protect themselves and get out of the situation. You know, so I think you're very right, and perhaps those protesters have advisors and consultants who may have told them now is the correct time to do what they did. Because look, we're discussing it today. You get the Prime Minister talking about it, you get the attention of the whole country. So that it worked is what happens after. The sad reality is this has happened many times before and nothing came of it thereafter. So you ask what will happen next? Will there be investigation? This I will tell you, based on the history, what is likely to happen going forward is that it's going to die a time death. Time going to pass and it's going to die a natural time death. And something else will happen and they'll protest again and they'll forget what the first protest was about. And I said, so what happening is that these people have been, as I said, left out the loop. And you had to look at something, what makes it worse. The worst part of it all, and I know I am going to get some pushback for the statement I'm about to make. And I'm prepared to accept it on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and on behalf of the people in those communities so that things could change. And I'm saying it for them. And I'm saying it for all the rest of us in this country. When Kamla Persad-Bissessar put up the other day and she said, you got your name from a slave master or something like that. Remember that? She said that. Right. The Prime Minister posted on his page something with Kunta Kinte being flogged and being asked, what is your name and so on. Quite a touching piece. It's something that would struck a chord with anyone who has any real genuine interest in human beings, and in particular in the African community, because it's something that is so meaningful to all of us.
Yes.
So there you put that out and say that is how you got your name, signaling to the national community and in particular to the African community that we must never forget this. You hear that statement that was made? You see what we went through and what she has said? We must never forget her. We must never forget what we've been through and always look at her in a particular way and so on. Now, if you really felt anywhere close to that which is what you put out, then how could you as Prime Minister sit back and allow people who are the children or those alive today who came from such ancestors who went through that process, and you have them out of the loop? You're the Prime Minister now for 7 years. You have people living opposite a dump, crossing the Beetham and trying to pursue an economic career from the waste of the land that nobody really wants. People have to go in there. I don't know. I'm sure you have never passed in Mickela, probably you did. If you have, you would see the stench and you could pick it up from 5 miles away. You see the smoke and you know what smoke can do to people with cancer and all these sorts of things. And you're about to spend 2 budgets away from $500 billion. And you are supposed to be so moved by what African people went through. And in this modern society, you as Prime Minister sit in such a position with so much money, according to Richard Quest, this windfall of money we have, and you leave those people to live like that. You see them killing one another for next to nothing, and you just leave them like that. And it's only when they feel so negatively affected that they are overcome with passion. It flows in and on to the highway and on to the bus route and surrounding, where they have to, that is the way they get their problem off the chest, by protesting and drawing others into the pain. And that's the only time they can hear from the Prime Minister. And when they do hear from him, telling you about, well, don't inconvenience the people now. Find another way, you know? I mean, so I want to say to those people, never forget that. This Prime Minister is the only Prime Minister who's about to be in office with $500 billion being spent under him. No other prime minister had that none. And not one single thing has changed in your community. If you ever wanted poor representation or misrepresentation, this is it. And it's highly disappointing. Those people should actually stop listening to him. Unless you show up with deliverables to help them change their lives and to give them opportunities and bring them into the economic activity of the land. They're just left out. When he came in, and I'll give way, he said in 2015, I don't forget, I think it was in December 2015 or January 2016. He said no one goes into SEALACs unless they decide that anyone who wants to go into SEALACs must go through him. Things have changed for SEALACs, he said. And after that statement, that was it, you know. All kind of people went into SEALACs, all kind of killing, things got worse. And I was wondering, well, I thought they had to go through the prime minister. Who was he talking to? So it's a terrible situation. And I needed to say this for any of our listeners to understand and line these things up well. It's been a horrible performance by this prime minister and his team. I mean, just look at it. It's not that he didn't have money. We accepted it in 2015. We accepted it throughout 2016. Oil prices were in the high 70s in 2017 from then to now. What is the excuse now? What is the excuse now? Why have people living like this? That is highly disappointing. Mickela.
I think also what disappoints me is where are the MPs? So I agree everything you've said. I agree and I second it. I genuinely feel it, and I feel your passion and your pain to an extent. But Keith Scotland, for example, I don't know if you got a chance to see, he was on one of the morning shows, and that's his constituency. And his response, and he's a fellow attorney at law, but his response was he was bothered that the children were not in school. And I thought, you are missing this point. This is such a big point. But even after that, okay, so he felt a little disappointed. The kids weren't there. It's probably, you know, setting a very bad example. The parents, the aunties, the uncles, etc. Why haven't you gone to visit the community since then? Now, I don't know if he did or he didn't. I would assume that if he had gone, it would have been something that would have been reported.
Yes.
But in my mind, and I could be wrong, Rich, but would have pacified the people a little bit to help them to feel that somebody was listening. You know, at least your MP and your member of parliament, that's supposed to give you representation. And what we now find is that vacuum happening, and people feel that they've been alienated, marginalized, disenfranchised for such a long period of time. You now see other politicians capitalizing on that, of course, and we have seen it. Get in and do your work. Go and visit the people. In fact, whether or not the boys who passed had committed an illegal act, whether the car was stolen or anything like that, they still have families, right?
Yes.
You can still, as a member of parliament, and I'm making no excuse because I know what goes on in the country. I know how scared I feel. I know how scared women feel. I know, you know, young people, all of this. Wherever we are, we feel the pressure of the crime and the country being unsafe. But you have to start somewhere. People want to feel that they're being listened to. And I just didn't see anything happen. Go into your constituency. Go and see the people. Let them feel that they have someone that they're speaking to that's listening. And I didn't see that. So I want to agree with you. All that's going to happen is it will die at its own death in time, because it's a timely death, and something new will happen. And then something, again, terrible will happen. And then we'll go on protests, and maybe people will in the Port of Spain area get fed up and feel that they're being used or neglected or conveniently listen to during one election time and may choose to do something different. But why these communities continue to be neglected in this way is beyond me. So don't you think that's where gangs are going to be formed? Don't you think that that's what happened? Look in America, where there is poverty, that's what happens. You leave this vacuum for the criminal element to come in. And yes, it is more beneficial to sell drugs to get quicker money than to go to school. I accept that, and that's what they're doing. And then a young boy falls into a gang. I don't think they're born like that. I don't think people are born like that. You have a little baby in your arms. I don't think that's what's happening. So when are they going to look at this, find a solution, not a short term? It does not mean building a swimming pool. That doesn't work. Have some kind of long-term plan. See, lots has never changed. I went once with my dad. Some of the nicest people you'll ever meet, I have to tell you as well. And they were so kind and so nice. It was Lennox. I forget Lennox's name, man. We had gone with Lennox. I forget Lennox's name. And we had gone, I don't know if you've ever been, right? But if I could call them houses, they just separated. I don't know if things have changed with galvanized.
No, but you have been there. The fact that you can say that you have been there and you're speaking truth.
The women sit outside.
Yeah, the houses are connected or separated by galvanized. One is there. It's just silat. And I want to tell you, from then to now, it hasn't changed. In
that's
fact,
what I was going to say.
Actually may have worsened. And in a time when we have a lot more money, they could say what they want. Our energy sector, our hydrocarbon sector has never been in demand before as it is today. And although we may not be producing as many barrels of oil today as we did in the past, the price per barrel now way offset the fact that we are producing less. Because though we are producing less, the price per barrel now, it's sort of even off the other barrels that we would have been supplying on a daily basis. But apart from that, you have natural gas, where we normally hope is $2.80, $2.70 something, $8 and $9 per MMBTU. So I mean, they're making much more. Patrick Manning had said at one time, this country is more gas-based economy now than it is oil. So it has never been this good before. You're making all of this money. You're trying to hide it from the people by saying, when Richard Quest asked Mr. Young, what are you doing with this windfall of money? His reaction, well, we have bills to pay. He didn't say they didn't have the money. They have bills to pay. What about the bills to make the people live better in those communities?
And so we have enough for everybody. We have enough.
More than for everybody. But you see, you spoke about crime and so on. Those people may be used in a way that they could never analyze thoroughly. They may be set up like that and used like that and forced into a corner like that. When you are forced into a corner like that, you have no choice other than to find ways to survive. Some of it will be multiple criminal avenues. Now, when you do that, therein lies the justification to say I'm spending $10 billion through the Ministry of National Security, but that money not going to them, It going to people who claim they have the solution, the potential solution towards addressing that. So you use the people, you squeeze them, force them into a life of crime because you may want to give the money to another group who will come to say we're doing this to help fight crime. In other words, if you don't have crime to fight, we're going to do with that $10 billion. What would you do with it? And you want to spend it, you need to get it out so it can get into the hands and pockets of a few, and they will know the reason why. So those people are being misled in all different types of ways. And someday a representative will come and take care of them. I saw Watson Duke in there. I hope Duke and their message could be solid enough to educate those people and transform their thinking and help them to get a better life. Because I want to say here today, the representatives they have in those communities now, they have failed those people over and over and over again. Those people shouldn't even listen to them anymore. I think for those people to have the time to waste to listen to the current representatives, it is like confessing we're really out of options. We really have no way of thinking through these things, and we have to allow these people to think for us. I heard about the example where a man plucked a chicken alive and then threw some feed on the ground. And then the chicken came right back to the man who plucked it alive and eat the grains out of his hands and on the ground. Right by the same man. That's what they're doing to the people in Laventille East, Laventille West, and surrounding areas. You treat them bad, you give them nothing, you have them living in absolute impoverishment, complete squalor. And then when it's election time, you go in there with a few jerseys and some old talk mixed with some promises. And you get those same people coming back to you in thousands, believing that the promise that got 25 years ago would somehow be realized on this occasion, notwithstanding it's the same people talking it to you. Dr. Rowley was in Laventille with me and others in 1991 when we were campaigning there. Right? All in Laventille Junction. We were all there. Dr. Rowley became a minister in this country in 1991. So too was Coleman Bird. Today, Farley Augusta must be 35 or 36 years of age. Farley was about 3 years of age when these gentlemen were sworn in as ministers. Today, 33 years or so later, Farley's leading Tobago. You know, the same fella from 1991 still occupying the office as minister, the corridor of power. And up to now, they want to claim they get the ideas they wanted to roll out to help people in this country out there. If they couldn't do it way back then in 33 years, if you couldn't get your idea out to help the country move forward, what make you feel like get it out now? I want to say to the people of this country, I want to say to Watson Duke, and I've never met the guy in person, we have never spoken. I'm speaking for the people of Trinidad and Tobago because I was on with you, Mickela. When we spoke to Watson Duke, it looked like he was in Miami somewhere, or perhaps in some kind of shuttle going to space. I don't know what he was or what he was, but he was in something that was moving, and he was telling us he live in Laventille and all that kind of thing. And so it looked like he has maintained that, because I saw a clip today, I don't know if Melissa sent it to you, where control the things that she may have sent you, where Watson Duke was actually talking to some people, it looked like in Laventille. I was trying to go through it. So if you look at it and see it and so on, I hope whatever he's doing there, anybody who could go into those areas and help those people, I want to tell them here, as a citizen of this country, you have my 100% support to help lead those people out of the nonsense that they have been held into for so many decades. It's time to disentangle those people from that type of situation so they can understand the national system and make more informed decisions for themselves and their family. You know, so I really hope
and become part of society.
Of course.
And sometimes when, you know, when I looked at the protests and what was happening, you know what I was thinking? Do these people feel as part of Trinidad and Tobago, you know, and this society? Or do they look at everybody in their motor vehicles going up and down as totally alien to them, and it's them versus us? I wonder. Do they come out of their communities? Because not everybody there that was protesting is a bandit or a robber or a murderer. And then these were people that were genuinely upset and fed up. Now, they were protesting against police brutality, if I can put it like that. Did you get anything along the lines, Rich, that it was anti-government, or do you think it was anti-police?
I think it was anti-police, but you can't help to understand that it will be anti-government as well.
Because the government, they see as the police, as the government.
Separate them, because if they're against the state, they're against the state. They're going to be against who's running the state at that time. And the Dr. Rowley-led administration is what is running the state at this time. And I heard and saw some of the people who were speaking through the process when they were captured. They were talking about, even, the people in riot, yet, where that statement came from. And so that is clearly a statement out of the cupboards of this government, as high up as it could possibly go. And they were responding to that, and many other things, about the trickle-down effect on the country, has so much money and the suffering. That is not police. Police don't tell you about rioting.
That's right. That's economic
trickle-down effect. So that squarely was aimed at the government, and I think they got that message.
And I thought so. I thought so as well. Which I don't know if you've had an opportunity at all to look at the statistics in terms of voting. There are about 7 constituencies out of the 41, right? Where the amount of people who do not vote is more than the amount of people who vote. Both Laventel constituencies fall into that. And also Diego Martin. So I don't know if the PNM is, I'm talking about 2020. Of course, I formed the party. I've got to see what's going on and how people are feeling, and so that you can look at things also from a statistical point of view. People there have been fed up for a long time, just don't vote. They don't vote. I'm talking thousands and thousands of people who don't vote. But there is some reason why they continuously stay and follow the PNM. And I think that is a conscious strategy on the part of the PNM to keep people down, to not allow them to think for themselves, to make them dependent on you, to make them feel without you giving them something, they will have nothing. That's the way I see it. I also see it, and people might get upset with me for saying this, as playing that race card. And making people almost feel alienated. So you are my one hope. But I think there are a lot of people within Laventel and that do not vote and have not chosen the PNM. Obviously, those who vote all the time and whatever, and they vote for the PNM. But I have looked at the statistics, and that has been increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing every 5 years, and it was at its highest in 2020. I don't know if you had a look at that.
No, I think what they're saying in terms of the people who have not voted, and that number continues to rise, is true. The 2020 general election, if you consult the EBC, they would inform you that is the lowest general election turnout in many, many decades. I was on the air at the time, and I was telling people, if you're not feeling pleased about what's going on, don't vote. And I was explaining to people that you are not throwing away the right to vote, or you are not betraying the people who gave their lives to make sure we were able to vote. By not voting, you are not disappointed. If you choose on one occasion not to vote, you have not thrown away the right to vote. All it means is that you maintain your right. You're just not going to utilize it on this occasion. And at the end of
which is why they should give you the option, none of the above.
So all of that, that's all as well. And I tell you, if it's none of the above, that will be the highest. That will turn out to be the highest.
I think so.
Yeah, and it will
still
be
allows me to vote, but
and that will be the winner in most. And I think if they add that, where that turns out to be the highest figure, you have no winner in that constituency. You have to go until one of the persons win. If none of the above turns out to be the victor, then don't tell me, well, you had a discount that go the next one. No, suit up and run again until the people put you in first. So it's a horrible situation. I am confident one of two things will happen on this occasion. Plenty of those people who have not voted before will vote now, but they will not vote in the way people believe they would in certain constituencies. They won't. Because while you have your new party and you're running it. We yet to see when it gets into office what it will do, and we will be here. I imagine, I hope so, and we'll be discussing what the Mickela-led administration is doing, and if we like it, we don't like
I
it.
can still come as well. I
The
can
PNM
still
has
come back and spend some time with you.
Yeah. I'm a PNM. I maintain with all fairness that I remain a PNM because it's a very good party, the philosophy for the whole country. It's a rally for all and so on, and it's genuinely up to when Mr. Manning had it. That's where I'm stopping. It was one where being involved there, the drive and the trust was to get everyone to play a role when they were saying the economy is overheating. Just about anybody who wanted a contract could get a contract. People were making money. People were dealing with the inflationary pressures. The prices of so many basic food items went up, but people weren't complaining because everybody was making money and they could afford it. But here you have now a situation here today where, to me, the PNM's philosophy is being misrepresented. People today are being encouraged to throw all kind of missiles at the PNM because of what they're witnessing today. We have never had the cause to sit back and watch this country being led in such a way, the type of horror. I mean, we all witnessed the collapsing of the Tobago's economy, all because it appeared as though some people wanted to create an emergency on the sea bridge to get rid of a boat called the Superfast. Galicia or something like that had no transportation problems, and because you may have wanted to remove a boat to satisfy some other consideration, you didn't allow your consideration to be expanded wide enough to see what would have been the internal repercussions on the economy of Tobago today in Tobago. Because of that, in the period it went on for, Tobago economy is still flat. And this is that part of the reason the people voted as they did just the other day. They haven't forgotten that. You had people in Tobago lying down on the port and crying, no boat in Trinidad. You put a boat here, some terrible boat, and then Smokey Joe came in and they're bringing it, they ain't bringing it, and it load up with people, and just about quarter mile out, it shut down. They had to send the tugs to get passengers and bring them back on. A woman, I'll never forget it, when Skippy went to the port to interview and we did it live, she was crying and saying, look at that the truck man with her goods. He happy he's sleeping in the van because she now had to pay him for the overnighting on the port, with her goods. And she was asking, what could I sell it for now? She said, I lost, the lady crying, because it was supposed to reach Tobago tonight so she could organize a business to start selling and pay one price. The price may have tripled or quadrupled on her because I had to pay the man there, his van, his time, the fact that he's sleeping in the van and waiting in the port, and then still after that had to make the journey to Tobago. So whatever was the opportunity cost or the next job he had, she had to pay for that too, You understand? She was crying on the port, a Tobagonian woman. So how they could forget that? How they could forget that? So what we have witnessed here is something that is completely inconsistent with the philosophy as the PNM, as people who love the PNM know it for many decades. And they are shocked, as I am shocked too. But not today. I dispelled that early in 2015 because you start seeing where the trajectory was heading, where the concentration was. And I want to say from then to now, it was not on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It was on a few people, and those people today are as happy as ever. You keep on pouring the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars behind a small group of people, and they continue their snowball just getting bigger. And I'm not vexed with them at all. They're right. They should be happy to take in as much as they could, because they don't know when next they may have it this good. And if they're in business to make money and they're making so much now, they're right. Be happy for them. The problem is those who are entrusted with the responsibility to manage the equal and fair distribution of the wealth of the country. So all you've seen is a small, and the vast majority left out. The Africans in this country,
the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
That's it. That's it.
And the divide is growing.
Two dominant groups in this country, and they're left out the loop. That's craziness. The Indo
That's
community
true.
is not making anything close to what they should be making. The African community, well, they've been pushed back by 20, 30 years. They have been, if some of them were backward, well, a lot more of them, the percentage today would have increased astronomically because they took away GATE, they reduced scholarship significantly. So I mean, it's just.
But Rich, wouldn't you say it comes back to what we keep going on and on and on about the same thing? What is your vision for the country then?
There's none. I am saying that
you
they
have to
have
have
no
a vision.
They have no vision for crime. They have no vision for the economy. They have nothing for people's safety. They have nothing to create opportunities. They have none. And no one should hesitate to say that. It's true. I saw Winford James on television the night in Tobago when they were interviewing him when the election was going on. I've never seen a professional so trying to restrain himself, but yet still so disappointed in the government on one hand, and yet still potentially so happy that a change was coming. You know? And he was right. I mean, he looked so fed up when he said to the media, the PNM, they lost all gone. And I was saying, but he for real? And then, it almost turned out that the guy was right. The PDP won 14 and they recounted the 15th one. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right. And I think people are seeing that. I always say that people don't have to know, and you don't have to discuss with people what fiscal economic policy is. But if things are not going well, people feel it. When things are failing, when you can't afford food. This lady, she called me during COVID, we had done this hamper drive. So she kind of reached out to me again. She has this 8-year-old and now this 4-year-old and whatever. And she said to me, the husband getting one day here, one day, they literally have no money. And she says, the kid would go to sleep and the baby wakes up and she says, we don't have food to eat. And that's one of many, 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 many people. So people know when you go outside and you're not feeling safe. When you go to the hospitals and things not functioning. So your health, and when you see what's happening in the education system, and it all just comes as a barrage on top of you, you know that the time has come for change. Because we're not seeing or hearing any vision. We're not hearing any, I can understand the whole COVID thing that we keep hearing about. But what is your post-COVID vision then for this country, especially now that because of the war, which we did not know that was going to happen, the country has money. How do you tell people suffer? You have no food to eat. We don't have medication in the hospital. Everything that you could say about what's going on in education, and we can't deal with crime. We don't have money to put up CCTV cameras, whatever it is. How can you tell them that and they see the rich getting richer? How can you tell them that and you're talking about a windfall of money? It's more expensive now to fill up gas at the pump. So when people now have to travel, your traveling now has become more expensive. Many people in this country take public transport, as we very well know. So everything in your life, from the moment you get up, you fight it. So struggling, you know what I mean? You can't see any hope. You don't see any future. You're looking at the amount of money that's been spent 7 years later now, Rich. So I know that's how people feel. And I understand, and even in the case of Mr. Duke, because people
Let's excuse me for 4 seconds. I'm going to move something from there.
Everything.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay. Daddy Mac.
I'm here with you, Mickela.
but Daddy Mac, you understand what I was trying to say?
Of course.
Even if you can't do everything, you have to sell a vision to people so that you can create hope. I'm not saying to lie to people, but what I'm saying is you have to sell a vision to them, and that vision creates hope. And otherwise, what you have is a despondent country. And I don't know how to explain this, but I have just been feeling this really dark, heavy feeling over this country. And I think it's because so many people are feeling despondent, fed up, and they don't think that the government knows what it's doing, or that the government cares. I also feel that they don't think that they have what you call a viable opposition or whatever. And people just fed up. So you know how many times I see this? Fed up of the UNC and the PNM. And this is transcending race, by the way. Yeah? This is not one particular race. Fed up of the UNC and fed up of the PNM, fed up of the UNC, fed up of the PNM. If you were looking at the UNC as an option, let us just say this, right? What is their vision?
No, none has been tabled either. None.
You understand? So I asked a boy today, and I met him today, UNC supporter, and he said, oh, you know, he's fed up on this. But if I were to ask what is either the PNM or UNC stance on crime, what is their policy? What is it of education, housing? Nobody who supports either party knows. Because it's not about the issues that affect people. It's about quarreling and making excuses, but finding no solution. Surely you have to find a solution. Surely you have to find a solution. Surely if you need money, you can find a way, the government can find a way, or look at alternatives instead of just wanting to tax people when people don't have money. Now is not the time to be talking about property tax. Now is not the time to squeeze people and then say you don't have enough money. And then the money that you have, you've already allocated it to something else. So none for you again. This might be the start, which I hope it isn't, of civil unrest, you know, Rich.
Don't be surprised.
And I'm not saying just within the Port of Spain community. I'm saying it can start. I have seen these things spread. It can spread. And this is not people feeling frustrated and disheartened and, have despair. Is not within a particular part of Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago may be in a different stage now because they have new leadership. But this despair and despondency is rippled and rife throughout the whole of Trinidad. I'm in Central working now. I live in the South. It's the same thing. I have an office I share with a friend of mine when I'm doing some legal work in Port of Spain, right next to Woodford Square, which is the most fun thing, because if you're going through we don't have to go to court anymore, but you walk through there. Them old fellas and them are the best to sit down. I sit down with them and all talk. I learn plenty things from them. But I'm telling you, this is throughout the country, and I don't know if where you are seeing and feeling the same thing.
No,
you must be feeling the mood.
No, we see all the time. Yes, you're not alone. Hundreds of thousands of people feeling the same dark, uncontrollable,
heavy. Yes.
You get to this country on a daily basis and you don't know what could happen next. It's just there. And no one is taking on the government. To me, this is the least appealing administration to the people. It doesn't even look like people like to discuss them. They're not even a meaningful topic. No, it's true. It's like they raise the name and they get vexed with you. They don't want to hear about these people.
Long time they use people. Correct. Long time you hear people cursing the government. Now it's not even something that's discussed. It's not. They don't want to know. I don't want to see. I don't want to see. When I put on the TV and I see, and then I must switch it off. That's what you hear. But Rich, you believe in.
Well, I tell her how I was watching news too. So.
Yeah. But Rich,
I have given an explanation for how I
exactly.
Yeah.
And during Christmas time, this is how I'll be thinking about all kind of craziness sometimes to explain, why I feel the way I feel. During Christmas time, because it's Christmas, regardless of religion, there's a nice feeling in the air, in the atmosphere. And I think because so many people are feeling happy, it comes, whether they're putting it out into the universe or whatever it is. But there's so many people in the country, we're in a good mood, and family and celebration and thing. Well, I think now is the opposite of that. If I were to make a comparison for you, so many people are unhappy, so many people are worried, so many people not knowing what's going to happen from day to day. Whether you're rich or not, you're still worried about crime, right? You still have a problem, like something that is worried about, probably worried about your children, you're probably worried about whatever. And there's so many of us feeling the same way. I feel that is why there's that heaviness where I feel, Rich, like it gives you like a subconscious stress level that you're not even aware that you're feeling. That when you behave like a mad person on the road, or you come home and you quarrel with the children, or you this, I think we are living under intense pressure in this country. That's how I feel. I could be talking total stupidness, but I'm a citizen, and I tell you how I feel in my heart. I tell you how I feel.
And you are not alone. You are not alone.
Yeah.
Thousands of people, and as you said, it cuts across race.
Yes.
Thousands of people. Just people feel that way now. You know, it's all about, you look at the trade union leaders and the followers, they couldn't get a handful of people out before. Today, seen thousands of
Sorry,
people.
Rich, you broke up. I hope it's not me who gone.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm hearing both of you.
Oh, it's my connection kind of unstable.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm seeing you and I'm still hearing you.
Is she frozen on your set, Daddy Mac, your monitor?
She looks frozen now.
Yeah, she is on mine too. It's not a bad picture at all, but frozen on.
Yes, let's hope that it's corrected just now. Okay, here she is now.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you were saying, Mickela?
Oh, your volume. Turn your.
You have to unmute.
Yeah, unmute your mic.
Right.
Right. No, sorry, Rich. I was saying to you, I'm not hearing you at all because my connection went crazy. It went. Sorry, Rich. So if you could please just repeat what you said. Forgive me.
You know, a lot of us in this country, we are so disappointed. Really, it's a sad situation, and we're going to see how this is going to play out in elections to come soon. Because
it will show you.
Yeah, the trade union leaders, they weren't able to attract a handful of people not too long ago. But today you are seeing thousands of people volunteering to work with them. They have become so relevant again. That's only because, and it's not, I don't think the huge crowds that you're seeing on different occasions, I don't think they all are the working class. They may be, but not union members. I think other people joining them just to express themselves in terms of how they feel frustrated, disappointed. I mean, how much more? You clamp a country down now for 7 years. People accepted the first year, the first two, perhaps the first 2.5, but from the time they realized that you were starting getting the revenue similar to what the administrations got, but you kept on tightening the belt. Since 2017, you're talking about you have to do this. You came up with a bullet payment for Petrotrin, and then after all that talk and all that, we realized you didn't pay the bullet payment. You just went and refinanced it, which you could have done. You scrapped the whole thing. I continue to maintain one of the things I would want to see when we have another administration at some point in time is a commission of inquiry into what transpired with Petrotrin.
I agree with that.
People in our party have that mindset, in your party, in the opposition, in Duke's party, whoever should form the next administration. They need to look into that to find out. I believe there's some there, and they need to find out what it is, what caused that. Something is radically wrong. So yes, it's a sad situation, and I as I said the other day, I don't see the current leaders being able to reverse this situation unless something happens. Like Dr. Rowley is a geologist. He had to be able to predict that an earthquake is coming to Trinidad and it's going to kill hundreds of thousands of people. But he's so good, he's able to tell you everybody moves to this side of the country is going to survive. and then the earthquake actually comes and destroy the part that he told you to leave and where he put you live. When you come out of that, you're going to say, put him back. He's the man. If that's anything short of that, I believe it's things for him. It has been a dismal performance. This doesn't mean he's not trying his best, you know. I believe he's trying his best. But the sad reality is his best has fallen significantly short of what is required to help propel this country forward. And it may be based on the age of his ideas. They are old ideas since 1991. They don't know much about things like Silicon Valley and what the youths could do to participate in that type of thing. We could produce 5, 6 smaller soccer birds, but there has been no genuine infrastructure to help them to flourish. Because every youngster in this country like the games, they're doing all kind of thing. If they love to play it so much, you could tell me we couldn't create something for some of them to drill in to find out how to make it better. We can get a Trinidad perspective on it on the international scene, so that the rest of the world probably like this version or this system better. I mean, soccer bird today giving away hundreds of millions of US dollars to different states, to school, to programs. And I mean, in a country where they have no shortage of money, they had the right to print money every Monday morning because they had to supply the world with US currency, and they have something known as signorage. So every time they print a dollar, it costs them 10 cents, they make 90 cents off of it. You understand? And in that country where success is so easy and it's so high and so easy to generate money, Zuckerberg is giving away hundreds of millions almost on a weekly basis. And you tell me we can get 1, 2, or several little youngsters who making so much money that they can come back to Trinidad or stay from here and put into some of the schools, say at 12,000 US or to up their game and become better. And in 20 years from now, we really get a Zuckerberg. I mean, come on. So this government, what happened with them? They have no new ideas. The ideas they have, they are antiquated. They are obsolete when compared to the times that we're in, but they keep on peddling those ideas. And so that when good ideas come to them now that are relevant for the times that we are into, they dismiss those ideas.
That's right.
Because they cannot relate to it. They don't know how it would work. So they throw it aside. They need people in office now who would understand how those things could work and the impact and how we could create employment and how we can become better players in the world.
Yeah.
But they don't know. All they want to do is to come before the television every 3 weeks and come with one cussing her or her cussing him.
And it's sickening.
It's a sickening kind of soap opera they're trying to serve us.
Yeah, I think they might be in love and we don't know.
Don't be surprised. This one cussing that one cussing this one, and then election come
there's like husband and wife.
Yeah. Imagine if Trinidad reached to the winner, the cuss out, be elected prime minister. You crazy? No. I'm telling you, I had enough of that nonsense. I want to see new people. I want to see younger people, good-looking people like you, Mickela, other people who could come in and make a difference. If it's soap opera they want me to see, then you must look the part. They don't look the part. I mean, at one time they did. Dr. used to be a groom hairless guy. You know what I mean? I mean, 15, 20 years ago, if people talked about Dr. Rowley, that black man from Tobago, oh, he gorgeous. You hear all of that, you heard all of that. Probably still feel he looks that way. For his age, I think he looks good. No two ways about that. Kamala was, to me, I rated her here, that I could tell you, she was the best speaking public person this country had as a female for many years. No one could challenge that. But oh God, how much longer are you gonna take the same thing? Listen, they could take that gig somewhere and sell it. But oh, for God's sake, free Trinidad.
No, we can't take it no more. Give me a chance. Give me a break. Give me a little breather.
The gig is up. The gig is up. It's time to change.
I think it is.
It's time to change.
I think it is.
And I think it is. Tobago said it. Tobago said it. Tobago said it. And I want to repeat that. Tobago said it. Tobago said, we're done with that. We're done with that. It's Trinidad's turn to say it. And a lot of people feel as we do, you know. A lot of people feel as we do. Because, you know, they meet you outside, they meet you in the supermarket. They'll come and just the other day, I went to get something adjusted, a jacket, and the guy who was doing it, I didn't even know him. He said, when he put it on me, he's trying it on me, he said, you know, I'm a fair guy. You wouldn't know about that. You wouldn't know about that.
What's
That's
it?
something that some people get to know me by saying I'm a fair guy. If you know what I mean. You know, so you said you were so happy if you see him now. How you going, big man? I'm saying he got to know me that way because he appreciates, as you were saying, the fair commentary. And sometimes the country
Everybody
needs that.
tells me that. Everybody says
Yeah.
that. They say, I like to listen to Mr. Noray, I like to listen to him, And because you're straightforward and said, listen, I'm a PNM, but I'm telling you, I supported the PNM policy and philosophy, what the party stands for, but I'm not happy with what's happening. What's wrong with saying that? And Rich, I wanted to pick up one point. I know we finish up so quickly, but when it comes to young people, what you find, and I saw this happening in companies and things as well, you know what they do? They feel threatened. The older people feel threatened, and therefore they just dismiss what is happening. We should have been a technologically driven society by now. By now, we are so backward in terms of technology. I look at what's happening in Barbados, and I'm looking at what's happening, all over the world, and why we have to be so backward. They had a young Trinidadian guy who started an online payment saying they sent it to all members. They didn't want it. He went and did his thing in Jamaica. And up to the method of payment, even the coconut vendors could have used it during COVID. And I mean, it's crazy. It's just why you don't want change. Nobody expects the prime minister or the government to know everything. But instead of alienating young people and not giving anybody any opportunity, they're leaving and they're going. And the country is suffering from brain drain. And we're just stuck in the same thing as we were how many years ago. Every single online thing that came, Rich, I tried it. And if there were people who came and asked for help, at some stage you had to go into an office.
Yeah.
At some stage, I could do the forms, I could do this, but at some stage, bet your bottom dollar, you have to go. Why does it have to be like that? And in talking about young people, you see what happened in Grenada the other day?
Yes. A youth man blow away Michelle.
Blow away. They changed the leadership of the party, and I could not believe it. And I'm not saying he was not a good prime minister, but the country themselves may have felt like, sir, you've done well. But it's time to move on now.
If they put you as the leader of the UNC now, they can win about 32 seats.
Tati Kamala ain't doing that, eh? Tati Kamala ain't doing that, eh?
No, it's the truth. We wouldn't stand a chance. It's the truth. In the PNM, we
but
have
it
no
comes
chance
down to self.
And that's what happened with Michelle in Grenada. That is what happened. The people got fed up on Michelle. The excuses again, his ideas became irrelevant to the time Grenada is in. They needed somebody who is more relevant to the current time that Grenada is in. How you could end up as I mean, come on. People today, the type of tools they use to solve problems, how you can bring these people who don't even know that those things are tools in the first place and expect you understand? Crazy, so they had the tools before them and they don't even know how to use it. Yeah. So they can't relate to it. So you had to move them out the way, let them go and become consultants in other areas that still relevant to them, that they're the best at. But
exactly.
So when you're going all over the world, we sending leaders out there, and when they go out there and they're hearing the younger people talking now about it, going, all they can do is sit down and shake their head as though they understand it, but they're shaking their head in shame because they feel not to shake their head. People go figure them out. They don't know, so that they have no response, so they shake their head, and when they're done and they go behind and they say, they ask their colleagues, you understand what they talk about? They say, don't I say the whole thing start, and the thing start all over. I mean, come on, you want somebody when they're shaking their head out there that they don't stop there. They shake their head, and when they get an opening, an opportunity presents itself, they can contribute meaningfully to the existing discussion, the subject matter on the table. But we have people now who cannot do that. But let me tell you, raise about who went in who bedroom in a 90. Jesus, I could tell you the expert in them will come alive. You ever see? No, they would tell you about who come out with 3/4 pants and who had on negligee and all kind of. I mean,
Rich is on a roll.
Yeah.
No, but how long? You take political, you enjoy it. But what hurting me not is as though that is becoming the subject matter on platforms. That is what it takes. And when we reach there, you mash up the country. So I had to be able to take a platform now and be able to tell a crowd how nasty my opponent is. You know how they go do that, and this is what they eat, and that's what people do. Nah. Come on.
It cannot be that.
Yeah, people are going to hear more of that. And that is wrong. Sensible people of this country must say there may be a small place for that on the stage, in Pekong, but it must only be a small piece. It cannot become the dominant part of the conversation.
It is.
And it is that we are misleading our people when we allow them to believe that is what is required to be discussed. It's craziness. It's craziness.
And that is what politics is. And you're seeing it happen all over the world. The youngest prime minister in the world comes from, she's 30-something, Finland.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have Jacinda Ardern, who is in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're about the same age. And the world is turning around because you've got to be keeping up with the time. Especially if you know how quickly technology changes. You can't look at it on a yearly basis, you got to look at this thing on a monthly basis. The different, like you said, tools that are available for problem solving is different. It's not the old way. And something as simple as agriculture and farming. We don't have to go with cutlass and, whacker and thing in the fields and thing anymore. Now you have hydroponics, you're planting without soil.
Yeah.
You have aquaponics, where you have it is amazing how people are planting up now. So you can't say that you don't have land. Everything has become technologically advanced and we just stuck here. We don't even talk about solar energy, and look where we live in. How expensive it is. What about homes? We don't. We wait till everything mash up and then try to fix it exactly the same way it used to be. And Rich, when that happens, whether it is a road, a pipe or anything, something will give. Something will give. Whether they want it or not.
We're in a horrible place, Mickela. And it takes people like you and Mr. Duke and others. We need plenty more to occupy the stage now and allow their voices to be heard and to discuss the way forward, discuss new technology in a way that those who occupy office now cannot, whether government or opposition, so that the younger people will be able to say, hey, these things resonating with me. These are the people whom I should be listening to. There are people listening to politicians here for the longest while, hoping to hear a conversation that could give them some lift. And nothing, I just see them showing up. And often they come to talk. Apart from their old ideas, it's somebody else's idea they bring into here. Something on the side that come, like with the COVID. We've been going through COVID here, telling you about believing the science and this and that and the other. But Daddy Mac can tell you, we were ahead of it all the time. We were able to say what is the next thing they're going to tell us soon. We run those things, not so, Daddy Mac.
Yes, of course.
Well done.
They're telling us mask is not necessary. You could go around without mask. We brought here and said, no, look, other countries saying wear a mask. So on 2 weeks later, the minister come and said, no.
They wear the mask.
Wear a mask. There's a man 2 weeks ago who say a mask will be silly in this hot country. You'll get sick. You wearing a mask for if you see any mask, leave the mask for the medical practitioners. No need to buy, no need. 2 weeks later, buy the mask.
Buy
any
a mask. Anything you have to do, wear socks over your face if you have to, cloth,
Yeah.
bandana, anything,
All
get
that kind of
something.
thing. I mean, yeah, because so, and that's what was going on. So often when I hear them speaking, they have done no research. They have done no triangulating of any data or anything on their own. It's something they heard, and then they run to the media to make it sound like theirs, and they come to excurgitate that to the lens and have that captured, and then the media houses carry it around, and then they start to act as though they created that and that type. All they were doing was just following, and then after just following, and I have to say, they followed as good students. I must say so. But the sad reality is they weren't following as good students and telling the country they're following, you know. Yeah, Ms. Betty had said that, listen, the only part that they declared they were following is that they ain't doing anything or accepting anything unless it came through the WHO, and that it must be that. Outside of that, they tried to give you the impression that the things they were telling people in this society to do, they're the ones who studied it and figured it out and trying to tell it, do it this way. But we were able to always be 5 steps ahead of them because we were
maybe they were listening to you.
They were listening to us too, in case they missed what they heard. They waited for us to get the interpretation correct.
And then Richard and them said it. They said it. Richard and Danny Mark said it. We go in with that.
That's it. No, but Skippy too. Skippy was here. We were running some serious analysis about what was taking place.
That's
and
brilliant.
we were able to call it before them and tell them this is what we're going to hear next. And guess what? By the next day or at most 2 days later, you know, they're going before the camera and telling you the precise thing. We started feeling like medical practitioners. So when they were saying, follow the science, Skippy and I declared ourselves scientists, you know.
Scientists.
It's true.
You were right.
Yeah, from day one.
I mean, so they were following all along, and then they tried to convey the impression as though they were creating these things when we were taking it off the BBC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, and presenting it and so on.
Looking at what the CDC is saying, looking at what who's saying, but look at this, see how South Korea dealing with things, how they're doing with the opening schools, the closing schools, what they're doing.
All kind of, I mean, oh my dear me.
But you know those press conferences, and they're very, very happy to have press conferences when it is an issue of a natural disaster or cause that they have no responsibility for. But up to now, and I have hope, and I want to hear somebody talk about the crime situation. When you start to hear how much it was, Richie, 13 killings in 36 hours on the 1st of July. I want to hear something. I want to hear something. As soon as I see that you're killing women, it's like femicide. You're killing women and chopping them. It's not even about shooting. You're chopping them, cutting off their neck, doing all kinds of things. Silence is deafening. And that's why you feel so alone. And that's why you feel that they don't have anybody who know what they're doing or who can help you. And I always use the analogy of like sitting ducks. You know, no matter, although we knew everything Terence Yeltsin was going to say, I still used to listen. At least, you know, they turn up there. You know what I mean? I feel a little sense of security of some sort. I say, okay, I know what he's going to say. I know he might cry a little bit, but I know at the end of the day, I know at the end of the day, because he feels very strongly about things. It was something that during the pandemic that was consistent, and I would listen to the CMO, and then I listen to Dr. Trotman, and I have to tell you, it gives you a sense, you know, a sense of security. But you'd never hear anything. I never heard Faris as much as I heard him for the storm. There were 2 press conferences in 3 days, and then there was ongoing CNC3 live coverage.
They use the storm. They use a storm to try to create political relevance, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so embarrassed to say that, but I believe that.
If you get
I felt shame for them.
If they could have found a way to say they did something to turn the storm away from Trinidad, Boy, I tell you, but Paris, he was on. I think he's good at that. I think what they would have wanted him to do, I guess he may have done it or he exceeded the expectation, but he did it. The problem he may have had
But the
is
storm didn't come.
the chemistry he had with the people 6 years ago. Is that still there today? That is the downside, and I don't think so.
I
Yeah.
don't think so either. And I can tell you, because I know your girl is from San Fernando, not in South, not in San
Well,
Fernando. There's a huge disconnect. And I don't expect the poor man to be able, you're the Attorney General, to be able to come down to your office. But his mom was always there, and it was running. But I'll tell you, I don't think that, shall we call it, the X factor thing or whatever is there anymore. I really, really don't. He hasn't changed, but a lot around him and other things have changed, and the truth comes out, and people. I mean, there's this general thing, and it may not be fair, but people say after a while we will see who you truly are, and whether you have what it takes. And I think you need more than a pretty face. It could only take you that far. It can only take you that far. So it's either you have it or you don't. I don't think he has the popularity that he had when he started.
Well, one thing that we know, beauty fades. And
Correct.
And however he looked 6 years ago, especially politically, he's not looking that way 6 years later, for a multiplicity of reasons. And it may not have much to do with his physical appearance, although that would have changed because we age every day. But clearly, while people would like you for one thing and they try to believe you because of how they feel about you for that one thing, they try to extend that to other things. When the other things start hitting them hard and the other things supposed to help them and they are not being helped, the one thing they used to like you for, that too, the percentage start dropping, significantly. And I don't think Faris is too high. I mean, the fact that he was removed from the office of the Attorney General and they didn't hear anybody in society, and I repeat that, I have not heard one person saying why they did that to the fella. Not even one person said they should have left Faris. Everybody giving an explanation as to why it was a good decision. Nobody tell me it was a bad decision. So what that tells you, if they had done that to him 3 years after he was Attorney General, I am certain the party would have suffered backlash, right?
Yes.
Why? But
That's
no, look,
true.
nothing has happened. Nothing.
That's true.
Nothing.
That's true. And it just means that you kind of drop down in people's estimation. Yeah, it's going. And that's the words. Your political stock diminish and very, very quickly. And it's true. There wasn't anybody coming out and defending or say, well, listen, they have nobody better than you could put than the boy. Look at what he's done and this, that. Whether people like you or not, after a while, your work will speak for itself. And I don't think all those different renting buildings and people having to recuse themselves, I think those things, it gave a hit because there were so many. I don't know what you think, Rich.
No, if they could have suppressed that some more, but the sad thing is that it was in the public domain. I think the opposition exploited that. They put it out there night after night until everybody couldn't, help but not just hear, but understand what was going on. And I think what made it worse, when they named somebody, is what makes it worse. I think they started calling him the national landlord. So people started wanting to know, why they mean, what do you mean national landlord? And when they had to answer that, then people get to realize it's so much money he making, so much money his family making.
And so much in rent and buildings that not being used.
And I think that did him in. Saying he was renting buildings or his family was rented.
His family,
connected with the people. What resonated with them was when they started calling them national landlord. People wanted what that meant, and now they know. And that has taken a lot of the polish off of him. It's like you buy a brand new car and you park it up in the garage and You look at, I mean, it brightening up your whole garage, everything after 2 weeks when you drive it around, the sun hit it, the rain, you wash it. When you look out there, it look like it dull in your wall, you know. Not a spark. But that is what I think has happened to Paris since they understand what the national landlord meant. And I think that is and I guess also you may have been using the storm to attempt to reverse that perception. But once it is done, when the die is cast, that's it.
It's too hard.
Yeah,
It's too
exactly.
hard. It's too hard. And I mean, he tried different things, saying, "Oh, you know it. That's my father-in-law, and it's not me or whoever it is, my in-laws." Or, but they. I mean, when you start to be called a national landlord, I mean, you can't really go back from there. And
I want to say whoever gave him that name, they're creative. No, they're creative. I mean, sometimes they try to tag a person because to me that naming sometimes could be the thing to do. Yeah, I think that one
correct,
seems
because you see, when you start, it becomes ridicule.
Yeah. And you know, the national landlord is something that could sound good, you know. It's not a defaming name, you know.
But it means that you, everybody renting from you.
Yeah. It's a name that suggests you're very successful, you know.
Exactly.
That's what you do. And yet, it's giving people, because you're a politician.
Good one. Yes.
Yeah, you know, so I think that was clever. And I think it was nicely done. You know, it needed something like that to kind of pull him back, because he was on a kind of trajectory of his own, you know, because he too was getting support across all ethnic lines. Everybody liked the guy, you know, and they needed to lasso him, you know, with some kind of something to slow him down. And I think that may have done it. You know, and you see him trying to fight back with this new ministry. He said from day one, I love it. I'm excited to go there. So all the energy you see going out is to say, I'm being consistent. I told you when I got this job, I was happy. And look how happy I am doing it. But even when he was doing it through the storm, if you pull back any of those clips, he was not looking as happy as when he was as Attorney General. There are some major flat spots, and you could see it. It is as though you're trying to force an issue beyond what is required, and therefore people making it out to not be what you wanted to communicate to them. And I think you have a lot of analysts in this country who would have seen through that. And I believe I saw through it. I don't think he looked very happy with it. I think it looked as though he's screaming, "Oh, boss, take me out of this thing, put me back,
Please.
you know."
This is where I reached to talk about his storm. Look where I reached.
Yeah, he's a weatherman now.
He's a weatherman now, you know. Well, and he was one of the more popular people within the PNM, right? So,
in the early time, I could tell you a lot of people believed in the administration, partly because of Harris. People believed, I'm telling you, that he represented something good, something pure, something decent, something they could believe in. And that gave to PNM a lot of political heights and additional political stocks. You know, I've interviewed so many people, you know, and Faris' name comes up, you know, especially the woman who would come on the program. That, of course, you know, I like him so much, you know, he's so, you know, and they lost the issues. All Faris, sometimes I was wondering, who am I interviewing? You came here to discuss this topic, and not like he lost himself in the name Faris. You understand what I'm saying? But you bring people up to discuss Faris, and they throw back at you, yes, you know, this renting thing as a national landlord. You know what I mean? So it definitely is a terrible anchor on him. I don't know somebody who has spent nights upon nights trying to find a way to say the same thing differently. And I think they eventually got it. And I think he has been anchored. I'm not saying that they wrong him, but I think they've held him in one position, you know, and it's going to be a hard fight from there. From the time you can move the veil. And you see through it. It's a whole different situation you're dealing with now. He's not in the most comforting political place, nor is the prime minister at this time, because people took him on. I mean, he was my guy in 2015. I mean, I ran for a position in the party as well. And I said, don't vote for me if it meant that you give your vote instead to Dr. Rowley. I said that. I was saying to people, don't vote for me if you believe you need to vote for Dr. Rowley in the slate. Don't vote for me. Because I ran as an independent. Because we wanted Dr. Rowley. He had that no nonsense posture, the tone and the way he approached things, you know. One of the things that I'll always remember, you know, that he said that even connected with me more back then, you know, sometimes he challenged Mr. Manning on when they were looking to, and Kamala Prasad Bisesa had raised it against him, you know, on the PNM when she became prime minister. She said, you all came up with this good thing to help, you know, people who needed help, you know, and because we opposed it, she was talking about what they did. You all threw away a good program. But Dr. Rowley was the person who called out Mr. Manning on it. And I felt he needed to be called out on it because it was something good to be done. And then Mr. Manning stopped it. And all the political stock shifted to Dr. Rowley. So what happened is that people started believing, and he was my guy too, because you want to see the poor people be helped and come out of that so they can make more meaningful contribution to the society and live like decent human beings, you know? Yeah. And then he got in and the program never took off. You know, you had an opportunity to do what you fell out with your prime minister.
You feel rich, that's why you feel so strongly and probably so disappointed.
No, I am disappointed in him. I like him as an individual. I still think he's a serious individual.
Me too.
I still think he's a family man. I still think he's trying his best and so on. But I don't think his best was good enough to help the people in the country. And I don't think he has concentrated any of the resources on the people who needed it the most. The people who need a government are the people who have life really tough. You can't use a government to go chasing after the wealthy and the rich.
No.
They don't even need the government. Some of them perhaps even richer than the government. They don't need the government. They got rich because they have the skills to take care of themselves and their family, and they'll continue to get richer. No one is vexed with them. But then the poor, it's the poor that puts a government in office, you know.
Correct. They're the ones that come out on votes.
Of course, they're the ones who wear your jerseys. They're the ones who do the canvassing and
treat people so, man.
And they close the door in their face and they just leave them out to suffer. No, so that to me is a huge disappointment for me. I mean, they even called me and offered me. I told them I don't want anything. I said on the radio here in 2015, I don't want anything. Give it to other people who work hard and help the people, help the people, help the people. And you haven't done that. You have not done that. And you are 2 budgets away from being the only leader to have ever spent $500 billion. And the poor people are no better off for it today. So where the money gone? You came up just as how they label Ferris. He came up with a very nice way of labeling the UNC. He did a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and he gave you 2010, 11, 12. I'm sure you saw it. And then he said, look at how much money they had. And then he had a big yellow truck. He said all the money gone in that truck. Where the truck going with the money? Well, what was the color of the truck now that gone with almost $500 billion? Because this is worse than that. This is by far worse than that. You have had more money, more resources, and yet still you have, under your watch, murders are more, killings more, crimes more, suffering is more. Everything under him increased that is bad, and everything that is good diminished. Almost everything. So what you use the money for? So how I could be proud in that type of leadership for the country? I just cannot. I would have to be somebody sleeping on an alligator back and telling people I sleep on a Posturepedic bed or something, whatever the name of it. What's the name of the mattress? Daddy Mac, the expensive one that they use. It would mean I had to be that crazy, which is a good mattress, a brand Mickela. You remember any? Sealy Posturepedic, something like that?
Yeah. One of them things. And the one that you can lie and it remembers where you lie.
Those mattresses, when you lie down, you lost it in it. I would have to be one of dumbest fellas in the country.
And you're an alligator back.
An alligator back and telling people that is the mattress I have. Because that is the type of people they want to talk to. People who believe alligator back is as good as Pastapedic bed. That is craziness.
Oh God, no.
Absolute craziness.
Good analogy there, Richie.
But people have to stand up. They have to look at these things. They have to expose it. They have to say what is good for them and what is not good for them. You have to stop playing politics with the lives of the poor.
Yeah.
A prime minister, in my opinion, could almost get on as badly as they would like, But you see, once the poor happy, that's why even in Venezuela, they love Hugo Chavez so much, a big portion. Hugo Chavez telling wherever the poor love them, You know why the poor love them? He was always looking out for them, even if it meant ruining the economy,
Yeah.
Wherever they wanted, he was getting for them,
He was getting for them, that's true.
That's where his strength was. In their votes. They love him. Hugo used to walk the streets at times without security because the ordinary man was prepared to die for him.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on Abercrombie Street now and you see 2-3 fellas out there, including the Prime Minister, walking out, because I could tell you, I went Price Mart and I see some fellas out there selling tickets. You know what I mean? I say no more. I mean, that tells you, I could tell if Patrick Manning had gone and stood up outside Price Mart, let me tell you, that whole car park would have been flooded with people. You understand what I'm saying? The cashiers, everybody would have come outside. It would have been a whole different type of, and when you're not getting that kind of reaction from the people in the country and you're the leader, that alone is a sign and a solid message to tell you what your leadership means to them. That's what it tells you. And that is a shocking thing. And to me, if that doesn't raise a red flag for you, well, boy, let's wait and see how the other elections will go. But I was making the point, he was my guy in 2015. I thought when I was running as an independent for a position in the party and I was backing him, I still have some of the newspaper clipping where they talk about the independents came out swinging for Dr. Rowley. And we did. I was doing it because I felt this guy was the solution to a lot of the problems for the poor, not even for the whole country, because I know the rich, as I say, can take care of themselves.
Yes.
The poor, I thought the poor would have been able to advance. The poor would have had the day in the sun. I said, this is the guy to do it. In fact, I was thinking I couldn't think of a better fella than Dr. Rowley to do it for the poor. Jesus, I couldn't be more wrong. It's the first time I have struck the nail so firmly on the head with inaccuracy. I feel so badly. I mean, I had to jump out in the same year he became prime minister and started to tell people, I am out of this, because they had to start to backpedal because I wasn't seeing what was supposed to be done through policies to help the poor in this country. And from then to now, I saw it. Some people say, no, Noray, relax yourself. You can't do that. Give the man some time. But if you're a reasonable person, it shouldn't take it too long to pick up the trajectory to where something is going. You see the policies, you see what they're emphasizing on, and that informed you. When I heard the first budget, the small man was left out. The small man was left out from the very first budget. And I said, no, I'm not going to support that. I supported you so you could support the poor. And I seen the measures to make the rich get richer. And I don't have a problem with that. But equally, you should have policies and measures there to help the poor take themselves out of that situation. Nothing. And as years go by and they collect more money, you cut gate, you cut this, you cut that. Nah. What am I supporting? So, he cannot get my support. I've said that before. That horse, they say what they say when the cow go and release the chain. Well, I don't only know chain. Get crazy. I am in search for someone else who will come and do the job for the poor. That's what I'm in search of. Someone else who has a passion, who see it as a cause for themselves, who want to get into office. Let me tell you this before I conclude. The office of Prime Minister is both a tool and a platform. You have to use that office as a tool to help the poor. You have to use it as a platform to help the poor. It's not an office that you use and a platform to make yourself look glamorous or to get the media on you so you can talk whatever loose mouth nonsense you want to express and cuss people and they go back in and close. It's not that. Look, we knew as Daddy Macketella, we say Boris was going in.
Yeah.
Prime Minister.
He had
You
no
know,
choice. He had to go. He got,
one
yeah.
from the time he threw a little party, we knew the trajectory. Daddy McAndrew was saying he had to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, when he threw
What
the party in
they're
COVID
doing
time.
now is less than what they originally got vexed with him for, which was the COVID party.
Yeah.
So 2 little matters, you know, he gone. He
That's
said
right.
he did the best job in the world. That is where I want to see the people of Trinidad and Tobago coming to reach that place. When you put someone as prime minister and they let you down and you lost the trust and confidence in them, you must put enough pressure on them to tell them, partner, we love you, but no more. You know, it's time to do something else. Let's try someone else. Trinidad ought not to be sinking because we want to hold on to one person. The country can't be represented by one person.
That's
I
right.
mean, you should have a team among you. That team among you should be able to say, Chief, too many poor people hurting. Too many other people have joined the existing big crowd of poor people. In other words, the crowd poor has become way too big. We need to do something to turn this thing around, and we think it should step down now. He needs people around him. He had no such voice because perhaps they feel if they tell him the truth.
The same with the other one as well. If you say anything, no seat for you.
It's the same. But you know, on the other side, the reason she could survive every time, and this is a good thing for you, Mickela, is that in fairness to her, though, as much as they both should leave the scene, when she got in, the people who continue to vote for her, she changed their lives then. She pursued policies. We had to be factual. Who could tell me no? She pursued policies for those people who were living in the rural areas in between. She concentrated on the poor, especially the poor who were supporting her party, you know. So today, those people saying, you see that lady? You see the life we have today? She changed it, you know. We live in the life we have today and feeling better because of what she did. So they now feel a sense of duty, and they have a duty of care to her to make sure what she did for them, this is their time to respond. Whenever she calls, they want to show her, hey, you see what you did for us, we didn't forget, and we'll continue to support you. So it's a trade-off. When you were in, you took care of us. You're out, we will take care of you. So there's a kind of relationship thing going on there with great numbers. You're not getting on the PNM side, you know. You're not getting on the PNM side. What you're going to find on the PNM side, an internal election will be called, and a lot of people, good people who are supposed to run and could win easily would decide, I'm afraid to challenge the leader. So we're here, the leader is re-elected, unopposed, because they feel to challenge him and lose, and he remains as prime minister, then whatever you wanted from the government, you're dead. You understand that? So they decide, I ain't doing that, me ain't doing that, and it's the same thing. People have to, this is why I've said before, if in 2025, some good people, I'm backing 2 people because he said he's not running again. If they don't offer themselves, I'm saying to our listeners, then I may do it to give the people of this country a different view, a different take on what should be done for this country. You can't just
if you
back
do it, then I will have to join you. So I mean, maybe.
I will see it. I'll go to general council and discuss with them if I may. Bring her in. You can never tell. But the bottom line, I think we could agree on, is that we need to produce change for this country.
Yes, I agree.
Poor. Yeah, and I'm telling people watching Duke going to get a lot of traction on the ground because the vulnerability that exists among the poor people today,
exactly,
whether you make sense or not, it's a different kind of promise, and a lot of people going to connect with it.
It's that vacuum that. Yeah. So
it's a sad state of affairs, but I know I kept you back.
Yes, Richie. So I'll see you next week. And I just want to leave you with one thing. We have to remember what Boris said. He said politicians are not indispensable.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And when they realize, and people realize that, you can change lives with the power of a pen, and you choose not to, you pay the ultimate price. And tell people the truth. I always stick with that. But anyway,
and move him after a good person, the good job he did with Brexit. or most of British people, he won the referendum, all kind of thing. They love him. And look, a few years later, look what happened to him.
Bye. That's it. So,
Something
anyway,
else.
Yes.
Next
running.
week, take it easy. I know you're
Next
very
week.
busy.
Yes,
This time,
thank you
yeah,
for
Mickela.
everything. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Daddy Mark. Thank you,
Yes, my
Ruben.
dear. And we look forward to
Okay.
next Thursday.
Next,
Yeah.
definitely. Take care, Richie.
Okay.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
All right.
Bye. Rich, we go to the news?
Yeah, we do that and then play some of those songs. When you come back, I want Bob Marley 2 songs. You know, he had the one war
Yeah.
and in the abundance of water.